Well, today's project is actually kind of exciting. I started this truck up a few days ago and noticed that it seemed a little bit louder and the cab was getting smogged out with fumes. So I figured I had some kind of leak somewheres. There's a cast iron piece that goes from the manifold to the pipe right here. And I looked underneath that and it had a big hole in it about the size of a $50. So I had to take it off. Of course, taking it off wasn't simple. It was just, it was froze right on there, rusted right on solid. So I had to finish breaking it to get it off. And then I had to cut the flange to get it off. It was already broke anyway, so who cares? My main objective was to get it off without cracking the actual exhaust manifold, because then I'll really be in trouble. So I looked on the internet, can't find this exact piece anywhere, which isn't a big deal. I can always make something or figure something else out different with the exhaust pipe. But it turns out that I am going to make something, and what I'm going to make is that. So that thing right there is going to take place of that old thing. So, yeah, I think this is going to be pretty cool. This is a whole set turbo off of a 855 cubic inch 400 Cummins engine. It's remanufactured. It's actually in really good shape. The shaft play and everything is nice and, well, I mean, it's not tight, but it's got play in it like it's supposed to. Yes, the question many have, and this is just a theory of mine, the 671 Detroit is only 426 cubic inch, which is roughly half of what the 855 is. But my theory is the 671 Detroit is a two-stroke, so it's firing on every hit. It's firing twice as much as the 855 is. So my theory is the 855 is twice as big, but the 671 fires twice as many times. So I'm thinking that this turbo is going to be about right for that engine. I've seen turbos on other 671s before, and they're about the same size as this, not quite as big. So I know many people are going to say, well, you can't just put a turbo on a Detroit diesel, you're going to blow the seals out of the blower, and they're not made for it. And that's correct. They're some that are made for turbos have different compression ratios, different high bypass blowers and all that stuff, different blower seals. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to run about 500 pounds of boost. No, just kidding. I'm probably going to get a blow-off valve for it and only set it for like 1 or 2 PSI or something like that. Probably have to modify it. So I'm mainly doing this because it's freaking cool as hell. And it's going to sound badass. I'm not putting this on to get any huge performance. I mean, I don't want to do anything that's going to damage that engine. So I'm going to put it on and see how much boost it has. And I'm just going to set it down to like 1, maybe 5 PSI max. That way I don't do any damage to any blower seals or anything like that. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, it's probably kind of a waste of time because it's not really going to do much, but like I said, I have it. I've had this thing sitting around for years. I think this is the perfect application for it to go on, or at least try it out. It's not going to cost much money to put it on. I pretty much have everything I need to put it on, so let me see what I got to do to get it mocked up. I think it's going to have to sit somewheres up in here. I'm going to have to figure out where the oil lines are gonna go. I think this down here, I'm sure if you could see it on the side of the block, I can't really reach down there to point, but I believe that's an oil return. And it shouldn't be hard at all to find a pressure. Actually, I know where there's a pressure on the other side that I took off for the oil cooler, so I could probably tap into that. The only worry that I have on this is a 400 Cummins is usually, I don't know, roughly around 50-60 pounds of oil pressure. Detroit at full throttle is only like, or this Detroit anyway, is only like 30-40 pounds. So, but this truck doesn't get worked that hard. It's not like I'm going cross country with it hauling 40 tons of logs or something. You know, it's furthest I go with this thing is like 20 miles, and I don't get on it too hard, so I think it'll be fine. But now let's figure out what I got to do to get it on. Well, I got the turbo somewhat mocked up in place. Obviously it's not going to be like that. It's going to be kind of something like that. I'm going to run a 90 down into that right there. That gives me plenty of room to get the valve cover off. And so I got this plate kind of made. That's where I have to cut the hole for the manifold. I made this thing right here out of some heavy duty square tubing. This is gonna go, that's gonna get welded on there like that. And then there's going to be another big pipe that goes up and goes into the turbo manifold, and I got an angle there. It's got to be closed up, and it's going to come right out the top there into the turbo, and should be able to mount the turbo, and then I can work on the other stuff. So let's get all this welded up and cut and in place and see what happens from there. This wood splitter thing came in pretty handy. Another catch-all, but at least I got a welding table now. Alright, I have all the pieces of the turbo manifold cut and ready to weld together. This is the part that bolts onto the manifold on the truck engine, and this is the turbo. I got it so the turbo sits nice and level, so the oil will drain and won't have any problems on that end. So I'm going to go ahead and get this welded up, and then we can get to the exciting part and get the turbo mounted and go from there. So let's get this welded up. Well, everything to put the turbocharger on the manifold is assembled. So I'm just going to do a test fit and everything. Obviously I'll have to take it apart again and make gaskets and all that. But I'm just going to mock everything up right now. Hopefully this is a decent spot for the camera so everyone can see what I'm doing. So yeah, let's get this put on. All right, there she is. Get just up here a little closer. Everything fit pretty good. I'm gonna have to clock the center part different here where the oil bath is, which isn't a big deal at all. I'm gonna have to clock the compressor housing a little different to figure out what I gotta do for that. But I gotta make the oil lines and the exhaust and hook up all the plumbing. So I actually think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna clock the compressor housing in the center section, and I'm gonna put a little oil in the center section and do a test fire. So that's gonna be sweet, seeing what this thing sounds like. So let's do that, and we'll test fire it and see what it sounds like, see what happens. That's what I'm talking about. That sounds freaking awesome. Well, here's all the parts that are pretty much, everything's ready to bolt on. I made all the gaskets out of high temperature gasket material. I had a hose made for the pressure side. I made the drain pipes here out of steel. The hose just goes in the center just to connect them wherever they go. And this piece here I finished up. I put that on the belt sander to get it nice and flat, so I don't have any problems with the gaskets blowing out. The work site right here prepped and everything's ready to go together. So that's the next step. Well, it's almost there. Got the boost gauge in, got the turbo pressure side in. A little bit of a cobble job I had to do on that because supplies of things were limited, but it works. Nothing wrong with it. It's kind of a uniform bend. Got the air cleaners on the other side. I gotta finish putting this downpipe on for the turbo. And pretty much ready to start. Of course, I have to put the fender on, get the lights and stuff hooked back up. And the last thing I gotta do is, this thing used to be so loud, I actually made a baffle and put it in this exhaust. But with the turbocharger on it, I'm going to take that baffle out because that might be a little too much back pressure, I'm afraid. And the turbo will act like a muffler too, it'll quiet it down, so I probably won't need that. So I have to do that, and then it's ready to go for a ride and see if it makes 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of boost. And see if I can have a crankshaft laying on the ground. Hopefully not. It'd be pretty cool though. So let's get it together. And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, the first actual startup of the finished product. I have everything all set. Took me a couple days to get this turbo downpipe clamp. That's kind of what the big holdup has been. This project took about 2.5 full days worth of work, and I mean from morning to into the night where I couldn't even see anymore. That's why a lot of it hasn't been filmed, unfortunately. That, and I don't want to make a 3-hour long video. I mean, everyone gets the point, kind of what was going on or whatever, but yeah, let's get her started up and take it for a ride and see what happens. Well, I guess it's time to conclude this project. I just took this down the road a couple miles and got 2 loads of firewood with it, all ready to get processed. It ran really good. I had it under a full load, and under a full load it builds like 3-4 pounds of boost, if that. Like, you know, most of the time it's only like 2, which is perfect because now I know I'm not going to damage my engine or anything. You know, it's going to be more like a ram air intake than a turbo, but a little bit of positive pressure is probably better than a vacuum, I guess. You know, I guess it doesn't have to work as hard to pull the air in, even though it has a blower, but whatever. You know what? It's really cool. It sounds awesome going down the road, and so I think this was a successful thing. So it looks pretty cool in there too. But I'm really happy. I can feel like a true big rigger now. This truck went from being a gutless gasser about a year ago to having a diesel and now having a turbo. So this truck's been a lot of work, but it's been a fun build. If you've seen my last video there from when I got it to where I built it now, you'll see all the stuff that I did. So if you didn't see that, go ahead and watch that. The international video I have there of the whole project. Yeah, this truck's pretty much been built from ground up by the time it's said and done. There's been a lot of work into this thing. But yeah, so I guess that concludes this. So hope you guys enjoyed watching me put a turbo on this thing, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So thanks everybody for watching, and take care, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video.